It is useless to fight me, Captain. You cannot win.
That's the thing. I don't have to win. You just have to lose.
Noble words for a man about to fall.
I could do this all. Sorry. Gotta take this. Kang Dynasty script? Leaked? I can take a look. Alright, we'll start with this. The makeup's still there? The makeup is still there. I hope that looks better on the video. I did so much for this video. Like, never say I don't do anything for you people. I'm just not used to doing static videos, so this is new for me, but it's just going to be a quick one. So we'll just figure out what works. I wonder if this angle's better because you don't have the blinding light. I'm going to just fill in like pictures and stuff. Allegedly, the Avengers Kang Dynasty script, a first draft, I guess, of the Avengers Kang Dynasty script was leaked to the internet, and I got it. And it was kind of crazy. So let's talk about it. Now, the script is allegedly one of, I guess, Jeff Loveness's early drafts of Avengers Kang Dynasty from, I think it was April. I have the script. I have the script. April 8th, 2023. So it's almost the, second birthday for this script. So it's pretty cool. There's some discrepancy as to whether or not the script is AI generated or anything like that. So obviously everything in here is going to be with a grain of salt, but for the sake of fun, I'm just going to pretend it was real. I mean, it has to be very similar to this. Obviously spoiler alerts, just in case any of this is true. I was like surprised character. I don't think it's the character introductions for these characters. I think they're expected, or at least were expected, to show up in earlier projects and movies. For example, Miles Morales is in the movie for a bit. Wink. And Wonder Man is also in the movie for a bit. But obviously, I don't think they've fully been introduced. I know Miles has technically been referenced to in Spider-Man: Homecoming, but they don't exist in the movie yet, or in the traditional MCU as we've come to know it so far. All of this to say, I wanted to go over my top 5 just wildest things that I read in a Jenny Nicholson style video. I hope if I say Jenny Nicholson enough in the front of the video that it'll just kind of give me the algorithm's blessing for our honored, YouTube talk it camera queen. I mean, she took down Disney's Star Wars hotel single-handedly. So, but the first thing literally starts out with the Council of Kangs literally drinking the blood of the X-Men. It goes into detail to describe that these are the X-Men characters from Days of Futures Past in the original X-Men kind of trilogy. Professor X, Magneto, Wolverine, Storm, Beast, Cyclops, and others, their bodies battered and broken. And then it goes into detail that Professor X's head slumped forward, blood trickling down his temple. Magneto, his helmet shattered, glaring defiantly despite his torment. And Wolverine, his claws extended, dripping crimson. And they're chanting, the Kang priest is chanting, "Blood will bind, blood will fuel, blood will rule," while all the other Kangs are drinking the blood from cups. There's one thing that makes me think this is fake. That feels just a step too far beyond what Marvel would do. I mean, I could get the sense that they're trying to make things a little bit more adult now that everybody that's really attached to these films has grown up. But it's a little much. I don't know, maybe if they traditionally in their script writing process they start off with let's do something crazy and then back it down to something reasonable. But this feels like a strange note to start your movie on. But it sets the tone for just how bad the Council of Kangs are. Number 2, the Decimation of Earth-616. There's kind of 4 primary Kangs in this movie. There's 3 kind of, we'll call them evil kings, like more evil than the other king, that are kind of like leading the Council of Kings in essentially conquest of the multiverse and trying to become like the supreme king. So the MacGuffins for this movie are kind of hinted at in Captain Marvel, and the post credits scene of Shang-Chi. So it's the Ten Rings and Captain Marvel's or Miss Marvel's bangles. So basically, the three Kangs, Ramatut, the Centurion, and Immortus, are trying to get these devices so that they can become more powerful, rule the multiverse. Apparently, these things just happen to be on Earth 616. So they target Earth 616, like broadcast themselves. We can only assume Wizard of Oz style in the skies above every major city, and then begin literally incinerating the Earth, which was like blasts that shoot down and like destroy cities. Like I'm imagining Independence Day. Aliens finally like let loose the beams and blow up the White House and all that stuff. I assume it's like on that scale. And this is where the movie first gets kind of cosmically depressing, because obviously there isn't much that anybody can do to stop that. And then it gets like super depressing because you get scenes with like Pepper Potts and Morgan Stark and Happy, where they're just crying and saying, "Not like this, not like this," and then poof, just incinerated. I believe the major deaths here are Peter Quill's grandpa. They're like in a church. There's Pepper Potts, Morgan, and Happy, and the Ant family. Ant-Man's daughter, Cassie. He like finds her lifeless lump. I believe that's how they describe it in the script, and he just weeps over it. Basically, it's not a great day for the planet or any of the Avengers. But yeah, everybody, so many people die, and then it leads to everybody basically having to like come together in Wakanda and formulate a plan to try and stop the Kangs. To number 3, which are the major character deaths, or I mean, at least as permanent as death can be in a Marvel movie at this point, where they can they can bring people back sometimes. Maybe not this time. Because this time it's not like they're magically dusted away. It's like they're literally getting stabbed. The remaining heroes basically decide to get together and split up into 3 teams. There's one team that'll be Space Team, which will be going to take on Immortus in space. There's another kind of ground team. Apparently the Kings have like a base of operations and something they can destroy in Washington, D.C. So there's like a ground team with Spider-Man and kind of all like the Earthbound heroes. Moon Knight shows up. Basically, almost everybody I feel like shows up. Obviously, the Kangs are very powerful. So it's kind of a suicide mission. They split the MacGuffins with Miss Marvel going into space and Shang-Chi hanging out with the ground team. And the third team is Doctor Strange and Clea, I believe her name is. She was, I think, the lady from post-credit scene to Multiverse of Madness that comes and like collects Doctor Strange to help with incursions. And then their job is to kind of get as many Kangs away from this reality as possible, because apparently their presence is disturbing the multiverse. Or not the multiverse, the reality. Like their reality is gradually starting to break. They don't like really push that until the end, but we'll keep talking. But anyway, so obviously this is a suicide mission. And it leads to a lot of death, a lot of unexpected. Well, I mean, I think it's expected, because I mean, it's like basically the parallel to Infinity War. Key highlights: Miles Morales gets stabbed through the chest by Ramatut while trying to help Peter. And so that's pretty wild. It's like kind of a reversal of Iron Man having to watch Peter die in Infinity War. So Peter gets to kind of be like the mentor that has his mentee like die, which is brutal. Moon Knight dies. Khonshu dies. Captain Marvel dies. Wonder Man dies. Everybody dies. The Incredible Hulk. Sam Captain America dies. Like everybody is just destroyed. It's easier to list like who is actually like verified to be alive by the end of this movie, because there's just so like any character you could guess. So you have like a 1 in 2 chance. Like they're probably dead. Number 4, Nicolas Cage, Ghost Rider. Well, this is a tie. There's a tie for this one. So it's kind of all the cameos. So Nicolas Cage, Ghost Rider shows up. Tobey Maguire, Spider-Man, Andrew Garfield, Spider-Man, Deadpool, Wolverine, all of those. I mean, those aren't exactly surprise cameos. Like, I mean, they're kind of like the mainstays at this point of like other like multiversal characters. I really hope no matter what we do get Nick Cage Ghost Rider. I mean, we got Nick Cage Superman, so I feel like I should be able to get my Nick Cage Ghost Rider cameo. So that's cool, but not cool enough to be on its own. The other thing that I think is really cool that ties it are the Adamantium Sentinels, which are just like they just threw that in there. I had to use adamantium somehow, so I'm happy they at least remembered it. So basically, the story with the Adamantium Sentinels is if you recall, in the original Avengers movie, there's sort of this council that Nick Fury reports to of the world leaders, and they're the ones that ultimately decide that the Avengers can't handle it, so they're going to send a nuke. So they do the same thing. They like recycle the same story beat, except apparently Ross had a contingency plan, or President Thaddeus Thunderbolt Ross had a contingency plan that if anything happens that the Avengers can't handle, that they created these adamantium sentinels to go and like fight the threat. So Nick Fury tries to get them to convince them that it's not a good idea to release the adamantium sentinels. He thinks they can do it. They just haven't had the time to fix anything. But then obviously the world leaders are like, it's their fault. All of this is coming down upon us, yada, 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 boring. Like, eventually they override him and he has to release the adamantium sentinels, which go up to the space team and try and help them like break the shield on the Kang's ship. But Immortus takes this and like comes out and just like is apparently like God mode in all of this. And he like uses magic to reprogram the adamantium sentinels and send them back to Wakanda, where everybody's kind of hiding out, and they decimate the place. They literally destroy. They kill every last hero, every last like world leader. Like it is, it just reads brutal. And then nobody can stop them because they're adamantium sentinels. So a really great like little hubris moment for those world leaders. But man, I do hope we get a moment like that. I just think it feels really wasted. That also feels kind of AI generated. It just feels like way too random and fan servicey to feel like something someone would naturally write, unless they were just trying to shoehorn it. And then number 5 is the Beyonder Kang fight. So essentially, Immortus is able to reclaim the bangle from Wonder Man, who gets it from Miss Marvel. He essentially tries to use it to like supercharge his powers because he thinks that'll win. Then he gets beat down. Captain Marvel at this point is already also dead. Sad day. But he gets the bangle and becomes powerful. And then at some point, the ground team, they also get the 10 rings. So basically, Immortus gets both. So basically, they get the MacGuffins. There's a side plot where Doctor Strange gets kind of rescued by the TVA. He meets up with Deadpool, Wolverine, the Fantastic Four, and the Spider-Man. They're basically building an arc to try and save as many people as they can. So once the heroes are all kind of lost, the arc shows up and rescues like Spider-Man, Miss Marvel, and like whoever else is left. But I'm pretty sure that's about it. I think maybe Ant-Man, but that's really it. There's a much to save at that point. They've like really lost like in the final showdown with the Kangs. Oh, and then there's another subplot, which I kind of hinted to in the beginning, with the Kang variant, the exiled one from Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania. So basically, he's been falling into this Beyonder realm since the end of that movie. And he's been like reliving his life and having flashbacks. And so you learn more about him and you kind of see that he's a bad Kang, but he's not as bad as the other Kangs, I guess. Like this is the one you want to root for. So he still did his conquering and his badness, where he like burned realities to the ground, yada yada, all the bad stuff. It turns out that he was married to Ravonna Renslayer, who you may remember from Loki. And so eventually, essentially he's going off on like one last conquest or something like that. She's begging him to stay, and he says, I'll always come back. Very classic stuff. But this time he gets captured by the Kangs. And so the Kangs, eventually exile him and all that good stuff. But then they also apparently burn his wife and hang her. So it's like pretty brutal, like decimation of this Kang in particular. And so he becomes the exiled one. And then obviously the events of Ant-Man and Wasp Quantumania happen. So he essentially ends up escaping the Beyonder realm. He like absorbs other variants of himself. It's like it's pretty crazy. He shows up and he's very angry, and so he essentially has a what I can only describe as a Dragon Ball Z style fight between him and Immortus and Ramatut. Centurion essentially gets killed by Ramatut because there's this whole like infighting plot within the Kangs where Immortus basically convinces Ramatut that the Centurion is trying to like usurp them and make him like the weak link. So he basically convinces Ramatut to kill the Centurion. So yeah, there's a lot going on. There's a lot of subterfuge. The whole fight boils down to Beyonder Kang and Immortus just going at it. Eventually, they end up in Yggdrasil. Essentially, like the end of Loki season 2, where like Loki's has the world tree. And he's like trying to keep the multiverse together. They end up there, and Loki's just begging everybody to stop and please not destroy the multiverse because it's all going to go away if they keep going. Beyonder Kang kind of like realizes this, and he like has a moment, decides he's not going to want to destroy everything, but then Immortus decides that burn it all to the ground. So he keeps the fight going, and like reality is shattering, the tree is like breaking at the base, and Loki gets to a point where he just can't stop them. And I want to read the lines that Beyonder King says. So basically they have their whole fight, and eventually Loki gets to a point where he's dying and he can't hold the tree together. So they just keep this fight going, and Beyonder King is like challenging. He says, eyes glowing with fierce resolve, voice a challenge. So come and burn it. When Immortus is basically threatening the world tree. Their fight just kind of ends with Beyonder Kang ascends, a dark figure haloed by twin bolts of lightning that strike with divine fury. The jagged rays of light fracturing his silhouette against the chaos of the universe collapsing beneath them. It's like very Dragon Ball Z. Beyonder Kang uses the strands of the multiverse to choke Immortus and bind him. And then it ends with this pretty cold scene. Beyonder Kang approaches slowly, his shadow looming over Immortus, his expression a terrifying blend of cold calculation and pure fury. Do you think this is new to me? And then it starts cutting to his memories of Ravonna as he advances gradually towards Immortus. Do you know how many rebellions I've put down? Just more memories of Ravonna, how many worlds I've conquered, and you think you can beat me? And then Immortus starts screaming, no, no, no. And then Beyonder Kang just lets it out. He's like, I am Kang. With one final pull, Beyonder Kang rips Immortus apart. The nega bands flying off in a blinding explosion of light and onto Beyonder Kang's wrist, fusing perfectly into 10 rings, both relics shifting and fueling with one another. Boom. I guess we could just like talk through the ending because I mean we basically talked through the story. So basically from there, obviously we're leading the Secret Wars. It ends with the full multiverse and Earth-616 and that whole reality being destroyed. Everything falls into darkness, and there's just the characters existing on the Ark in the space. I think it's the space between worlds. Beyonder Kang doesn't want the whole thing to end. He wants to rebuild his life with his wife and all that stuff. So using his divine fury and power from the 10 rings and the nega bands. I want to call them bangles. I really hate saying nega bands. He like fuses them into one magical object and fuses the remnants of realities together to create Battle World, which obviously leads into Secret Wars. On the Ark, the characters are all like in energy chains apparently. And everybody's freaking out, not knowing like what's going on or what's happening. And then basically the end is a cute scene between King the Conqueror and Ravonna, where they're just happy to see each other in a field of rose petals. So that's cute. And that's basically the whole movie. Again, just to kind of reiterate, obviously they're not doing the Kang Dynasty anymore because of Jonathan Major's legal troubles. I don't remember if he got convicted. I feel like he did. I'm just going to say alleged, things that he did just in case. But it was pretty bad. And them kind of backing away from the Kang, storyline in general. I don't necessarily think the script is real. There's parts of it feel kind of out of the blue and a little like extra for Marvel, and also the sheer amount of like character introductions that had to happen. But I can't remember like timeline wise if in like 2023 it was kind of before they kind of retooled everything and like cut down on their series, because I mean they got to. I assume they kind of have to introduce Wonder Man for that to make sense, because all the characters talk to him like they've like met him before. And obviously, I think it'd be nice if there was some introduction of Miles Morales before they just like introduce him in a movie and kill him brutally. So I think it's fake, but I do think that no matter what, I mean, we know Doomsday has to be somewhat like this. We know it needs to set up, Battle World and Secret Wars on some level. I think there's going to be some like accidental truth just because the movie kind of has to be this. But overall, I mean, if they would have made this, I would have been a fan. Like I said, I mean, a lot happens, but also a lot doesn't happen. So I think it would be fun to see some of this stuff on screen. There's like stuff I didn't talk about with like some fun Kang variants. There's like a lizard one and like a Gen Z one. And I just feel bad that for what happened with Jonathan Majors and that he kind of deprived himself from, well, it would have been a fun opportunity, but just kind of is what it is. That's all my thoughts on the movie and kind of where it's going, or at least on that leaked script. It was a fun read. If you get a chance, go ahead and read it. I've read worse scripts, so it's worth a light read, at least a skim. I always like reading scripts because I always like to imagine this stuff, especially with like characters that I know the visuals, like how they look and stuff, and like I have a very clear picture in my mind of a lot of this stuff. And especially it opens up an idea of to what could have been versus what we'll see, I guess, next year with Doomsday. So that's the video. If you read the script, leave a comment. Tell me all about it. Tell me what you liked about the script, what you didn't like. You like the video? Obviously, leave a like. If you want to subscribe for more content, obviously this is different from my standard videos. I don't always wear makeup for my videos or fake blood, but I hope you guys like it. I kind of want to diversify everything on the channel. I don't just want it to be theme parks because theme parks are expensive, and reading leaked scripts online is cheap, shockingly. Like, comment, subscribe, hit that bell. I will catch you in the next one.